Every black stereotype in America explained. You know them, you've seen them. These caricatures white America built to either worship us or destroy us. Sometimes both at the same time. But here's the thing. Behind every stereotype is a truth they twisted, an excellence they feared, a power they tried to cage. Type 1, the super athlete. First up, the Black Titan, the superhuman athlete, the unstoppable force. Michael Jordan, defying gravity in a way that made grown men cry. Serena Williams dominating tennis for 2 decades while being told she was too aggressive, too muscular, too much. Usain Bolt shattering world records in the 100-meter dash. 9.58 seconds that physicists said shouldn't be possible. LeBron James playing at an MVP level at 40 years old, still carrying teams on his back. Black excellence in sports is documented, undeniable. We've transformed our bodies into instruments of power through discipline and mental toughness. We've mastered the grind under hostile crowds, racist owners, and media praying for our failure. But white America looked at this dominance and crafted a lie, the natural athlete myth. Let's trace this poison back to its roots. In the 1800s, white scientists practiced phrenology, measuring black skulls to prove racial inferiority. Samuel Morton collected hundreds of skulls, literally filling them with seed to measure brain capacity. His conclusion? Black people had smaller brains, which meant less intelligence, but bodies designed for labor. This pseudoscience justified slavery. After emancipation, it justified segregation. When sports began integrating in the mid-1900s, these racist beliefs simply evolved. Jackie Robinson broke baseball's color barrier in 1947. He endured death threats, pitchers throwing at his head, and teammates who refused to play with him. When he succeeded, batting .297 in his rookie year and stealing home 19 times in his career, white sports writers couldn't say he worked harder or studied the game better. Instead, they emphasized his natural speed and instinctive base running. Jump to 1988. Jimmy the Greek Snyder, a CBS sports commentator, went on television on Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday and said black athletes were superior because slave owners bred us like racehorses. His exact words, the slave owner would breed his big black with his big woman so that he could have a big black kid. He said this on national television. CBS fired him, but the damage revealed something deeper. This is what white America believed. They saw our athletic dominance and couldn't accept that we simply outworked everyone else. Then there's racial stacking, a term sociologists use to describe how black athletes get funneled into positions emphasizing physicality, while white players occupy thinking positions. In football, black athletes play running back, wide receiver, and defensive back. White players become quarterbacks, centers, and middle linebackers, the positions calling plays and reading defenses. A 2019 study in the Sociology of Sport journal analyzed 25 years of NFL data. It found that, even when controlling for performance metrics, white quarterbacks received preferential treatment in draft position, starting opportunities, and career longevity. The researchers called it positional segregation. But let's be clear, it's racism. Media coverage reinforces this. Researchers at the University of Missouri analyzed 3,000 televised NFL games. When commentators discussed white players, 62% of language emphasized intelligence, work ethic, and leadership. For black players, 78% of commentary focused on physical attributes: speed, strength, explosiveness, raw athleticism. This happens in 2025, on ESPN, on Fox Sports, everywhere. And when black athletes gain consciousness and speak out, white America reveals its true feelings. Colin Kaepernick took a knee in 2016 to protest police brutality. He consulted with Nate Boyer, a Green Beret and former NFL long snapper, who suggested kneeling as the most respectful form of protest. Kaepernick kneeled quietly during the anthem. He committed no crime. He hurt no one. The NFL blackballed him. He hasn't played since 2016, despite leading his team to the Super Bowl just 3 years earlier. The president called him a son of a bitch. White fans burned his jersey in parking lots. They said he disrespected the military, even though it was a veteran's idea. Muhammad Ali refused to fight in Vietnam in 1967, saying, "No Viet Cong ever called me nigger." The government stripped his heavyweight title. They banned him from boxing for 3.5 years, his athletic prime. They tried to imprison him for 5 years. He lost millions in earnings. His crime? Refusing to kill people who never oppressed him while his own country terrorized black citizens. The Black Titan is celebrated only when silent, only when useful, only when entertaining without challenging. The moment consciousness emerges, he becomes expendable. Before we continue, drop a comment right now. What stereotype did I miss? What truth about black excellence needs to be told? Let's build this together. And hit that subscribe button, because we're just getting started. The flavor maker. The cook who transforms scraps into feasts. The chef who makes you taste home in a single bite. Edna Lewis wrote The Taste of Country Cooking in 1976, preserving centuries of black Southern culinary tradition that was disappearing. Leah Chase ran Dookie Chase's restaurant in New Orleans for 70 years, feeding Freedom Riders in the back room while the Klan burned crosses outside. Sylvia Woods opened Sylvia's in Harlem in 1962, creating a cultural landmark where everyone from tourists to presidents came to eat. Then there are the countless black grandmothers who never wrote recipes down, but could taste when the seasoning was right. Who could take a ham hock, collard greens, and cornbread and turn it into Sunday dinner that felt like church. This archetype represents survival through cuisine. During slavery, enslaved Africans received the worst cuts: intestines, feet, ears, tails. Organ meats white people discarded. They got vegetable scraps and cheap cornmeal. This was intentional degradation. Our ancestors took these ingredients and created cuisine. They slow-cooked chitlins until tender. They seasoned and fried chicken. They braised collard greens with pot liquor. They made cornbread, black-eyed peas, sweet potato pie. They preserved West African culinary traditions, okra, yams, rice cultivation techniques, and adapted them to American ingredients. Food became resistance, survival, culture on a plate. But in the late 1800s, as black people gained freedom and began building economic independence, white America weaponized our food against us. Fried chicken and watermelon became minstrel props. Postcards from the 1900s to 1930s depicted black people as buffoons, gorging on chicken and watermelon, eyes bulging, grease dripping. These images appeared in advertisements, cartoons, and popular media. The message? Black people are primitive, gluttonous, childlike, uncivilized. Why these foods specifically? Because they were affordable and accessible to freed black people building new lives. Chickens were cheap to raise. Watermelons grew easily in the South. Seeing black people experience joy, something as simple as enjoying food, threatened white supremacy. So they turned that joy into mockery. This violence continues today through appropriation and systemic food apartheid. Major restaurant chains built empires on soul food while erasing its origins. KFC, Popeyes, Chick-fil-A, billion-dollar corporations selling fried chicken developed by black cooks. Meanwhile, black chefs remain largely invisible in fine dining. When white chefs discover collard greens or cornbread, food critics call it innovative. They win James Beard Awards. When black chefs cook traditional soul food, it gets labeled urban or niche, industry code for not worthy of acclaim. Sean Brock, a white Southern chef, built his career on reviving heirloom Southern ingredients and cooking techniques. He's won multiple James Beard Awards. The techniques and ingredients he uses? Developed by enslaved Africans and their descendants. He's received praise for elevating Southern food, as if it needed elevation, as if it wasn't already sophisticated. The flavor maker survived slavery by transforming rations into art, by preserving African culinary traditions through oral knowledge, by making flavor an act of defiance. And white America responded by mocking us, stealing from us, and then blaming us for the health crisis they manufactured. Type 3. The Holy Fire. The Holy Fire, the church mother, the preacher, the spiritual warrior carrying generations on their shoulders while still lifting hands in praise. Martin Luther King Jr. standing in the pulpit at Ebenezer Baptist Church, voice shaking the walls, calling down justice from heaven. Mahalia Jackson singing gospel so powerful it moved mountains, literally inspiring MLK's "I Have a Dream" speech when she shouted from the crowd, "Tell them about the dream, Martin!" Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul, who learned to sing in her father's church before ever touching a secular stage. But it's not just the famous ones. It's church mothers who pray for the neighborhood every morning, Sunday school teachers keeping stories alive, choir directors training voices for free, deacons organizing, strategizing, keeping lights on, pastors eulogizing the dead, marrying the living, fighting for justice in the streets. The Black church represents deep, unshakable, generational faith, the kind that carried us through the Middle Passage, slavery, Jim Crow, redlining, mass incarceration, and every terror in between. The Black church wasn't just a building. It was fortress, hospital, school, and war room combined. This is where the civil rights movement was born, where Fannie Lou Hamer sang freedom songs while recovering from beatings by Mississippi police, where Ella Baker organized the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, where John Lewis found courage to march across Edmund Pettus Bridge, where communities gathered after every lynching, every massacre, every injustice, and said, "We will not break." White America mocked this from the beginning. During slavery, white owners initially banned African religious practices. Drums were illegal because they facilitated communication and potential rebellion. But as Christianity spread among enslaved people, owners allowed, even encouraged it. They believed religion would make us docile. If we believed in heavenly rewards, we'd accept earthly suffering. They were catastrophically wrong. We transformed Christianity into liberation theology. Spirituals like "Swing Low, Sweet Chariot" weren't about death. They were codes for the Underground Railroad. "Wade in the Water" wasn't about baptism. It taught escapees to run through rivers so dogs couldn't track their scent. "Go Down Moses" explicitly called for Pharaoh, slave owners, to let God's people go. We weaponized worship. After slavery, as Black churches became community centers and economic hubs, white America's mockery intensified. Minstrel shows in the late 1800s portrayed Black preachers as illiterate buffoons who spoke broken English and performed for laughs. These shows toured nationally, embedding this caricature in white American consciousness. The trope of the emotional, shouting Black preacher became shorthand for dismissing Black intellectual and spiritual life. When Black ministers spoke with passion, white observers called it hysteria, rather than recognizing prophetic tradition rooted in centuries of African and Christian practice. But mockery wasn't enough. When the Black church became the organizational backbone of civil rights, white America escalated to terrorism. The FBI's COINTELPRO program, revealed through leaked documents in 1971, showed systematic government surveillance and disruption of Black churches and civil rights organizations. The FBI infiltrated churches, planted informants, spread false rumors to create internal conflicts, and worked to neutralize leaders like Dr. King. Even today, when Black ministers speak on social justice, white commentators dismiss it as playing politics or just the emotional Black church, as if our faith isn't intellectual, as if our theology isn't rooted in liberation, as if James Cone's Black liberation theology isn't one of the most rigorous theological frameworks in modern Christianity. They want us to worship quietly, to sing about heaven while forgetting earth, to pray without demanding justice. The holy fire terrifies them because it cannot be controlled. You cannot buy faith. You cannot legislate spirit. Finally, the groove keeper, the one who feels rhythm before the beat drops, the one who turns sound into soul. Prince bending genres while playing 27 instruments and making rock critics lose their minds. Stevie Wonder creating symphonies that changed music forever. Superstition, Isn't She Lovely, Living for the City. Marvin Gaye transforming pain into protest with What's Going On. Jay Dilla crafting beats so complex they're now studied in university music theory courses. Chuck Berry invented rock and roll guitar. Sister Rosetta Tharpe played electric guitar in the 1930s before Elvis was born. Little Richard screamed and pounded piano keys, creating the sonic blueprint for rock. James Brown birthed funk and gave us the foundation for hip-hop. This isn't natural rhythm. This is mastery. Black people created jazz, blues, rock and roll, hip-hop, R&B, funk, gospel, house music, and techno. We didn't contribute to American music. We are American music. But white America looked at this creativity and proceeded to systematically steal it. In the 1950s, Pat Boone built his career covering songs by black artists. He took Little Richard's Tutti Frutti, removed the sensual energy and black vernacular, and sold it to white audiences. His sanitized version charted higher and made more money. The same happened with Ain't That a Shame, originally by Fats Domino, and dozens of other songs. The industry called this smoothing rough edges. Translation, removing blackness. Elvis Presley became the king of rock and roll by performing music created by black artists. His early hits borrowed heavily from Arthur Crudup, That's All Right, Willie Mae Thornton, Hound Dog, and others. Elvis himself acknowledged his debt to black musicians, but the industry and white audiences crowned him king while original artists remained poor and unknown. Led Zeppelin committed outright theft. They recorded Willie Dixon's You Need Love and renamed it Whole Lotta Love without credit. They took Howlin' Wolf's Killing Floor and called it The Lemon Song. They lifted from Muddy Waters, Bukka White, and others. When sued, they settled quietly and kept the millions they'd made. The pattern continues today. In hip-hop, white artists received disproportionate recognition. Macklemore won Best Rap Album at the 2014 Grammys over Kendrick Lamar's Good Kid, Mad City, an album critics and fans considered a masterpiece. Macklemore himself texted Kendrick saying he was rocked, but the industry's message was clear. The safe, white version of rap gets rewarded. The Grammys gave Adele Album of the Year in 2017 over Beyoncé's Lemonade, a visual album exploring black womanhood, infidelity, Southern roots, police brutality, and generational trauma. Adele said in her acceptance speech that Beyoncé deserved it, but the Recording Academy chose the white artist anyway. The power of the Groove Keeper extends beyond entertainment. During slavery, drums were banned in many American colonies after the 1739 Stono Rebellion in South Carolina, where enslaved Africans used drums to coordinate an uprising. Slaveholders recognized that rhythm facilitated communication and organization. We responded by putting the beat in our feet, our claps, our voices. We created new forms, field hollers, work songs, ring shouts. You cannot silence rhythm when it lives in the body. The Black Titan, the Flavor Maker, the Holy Fire, the Groove Keeper. 4 archetypes rooted in our excellence. 4 truths they twisted into weapons. 4 powers they tried to control, mock, steal, and silence. Every time they tried to diminish us, we transformed their weapons into armor. Every time they tried to silence us, we found new frequencies. Every time they tried to starve us, we created feasts. Every time they tried to kill our faith, we resurrected it stronger. We are infinite. Let's continue this conversation and subscribe to Black Stories Untold. We're just getting started, uncovering the truths they tried to bury.